Ready? So we're live.
We're live on another episode of the Microbial Secret Society podcast. Aloha.
Aloha, David. Good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you too, man.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing this episode. I know more people have been tuning in.
More people have been tuning in, so you're really stoked to spread the microbial medicine.
Yeah, and also seeing people when they buy the full membership, they've been downloading all the episodes. So
Oh, you can track that too and see, like they're downloading all of them and not just like one of them.
yeah,
Oh, shoots.
yeah. So yeah, more microbial medicine hidden within. And I was thinking today, I listened to Logan's episode that we just did, episode 4, just came out this week.
Yeah, you listened to the episode with Logan this week.
It was really good, I thought.
Really good.
I listened to it myself.
Yeah, I actually listened to it a few times. Listened to it once by myself, and then I listened to almost the full half, or the half episode with Mandy, and she brought up some interesting like perspective about it, though, of how like other people might view that, like some people that are like really indoctrinated into these religions and stuff, that like we don't want to like be offending people if we're trying to like build mycelium networks, but I really don't think that's kind of what Logan was saying. I think he just said, some people might not have the consciousness or the awareness to understand some of these things that we're diving deep into.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean that episode. But if you're tuned into this, I would think you're already kind of thinking about the soil, and I kind of come at it as a non-dogmatic, like, you know, to me the secret society is what we were talking about with Logan. Was it was tied to religion and this hidden inner circle that kind of commanded and controlled everyone. And what I think what we got here, this secret society, is largely like natural. It's pretty forgiving. It permits 20% of the soil to be like bad, where it's not trying to correct everything and make a utopia. It's trying to, the natural law is more law of tolerance.
Yeah, so coming like, instead of being dogmatic, maybe returning to a state of neutrality.
Well, yeah, and balance. Like coming back to that center, that middle ground that is.
She just made an interesting point, because like her parents like believe legitimately everything that happened in the Bible like happened.
Yeah, that's what Logan was saying. Everything that's in there happened.
Like, I thought he was saying like it's more about like the story, and the story. It doesn't matter if the story is real, or if King David was a real person, or whomever was a real. It's like the archetypes and being able to like connect to different levels of subtleties and understandings of the messages within the stories, and maybe not necessarily like, did Moses part the Red Sea, or is it like metaphorical about something that we need to part within ourselves and without? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a deeper question. That's same like natural farming dogma of like it's hard to pass these things throughout time, and then understanding the right way to do the recipes.
What's the right way to do the Oriental herbal nutrient? Because I mean, that's something that I don't know. I'm still like seeing different people do different things. Like I've heard, you pour off a third, you pour off 2/3 for your extraction. I asked Logan, and he said that he does a half. He says that the original teachings said that you pour off a 2/3 of it, but he said that half is like a happy medium between what the original teaching is and what people are some practicing now. So, which makes sense, I guess.
So he just split the difference, and then that's an interesting approach to finding equanimity. But I think that the ultimate thing, like all those recipes, are ultimately guidelines, like to get us to tune in to notice these subtleties.
Mm.
It's like a recipe, calling for certain things. And in the beginning, it's real important that you follow a recipe to learn and get the ratios correct. But later, it's about your intuition.
Mm. Yeah,
So what's the ultimate right way? It's like the enthusiasm that comes from with you, and aspiring to do the best in whatever
yeah.
situation it
Given
is.
your circumstances, making the most out of it, and wherever you find yourself, like putting energy and effort to move forward. Yes.
Yeah, 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 and tuning yourself in, because when you're tuned in, then that's how the people initially discovered it. They didn't discover a tablet that was written 2/3 on it, and like think, oh, we found the recipe. Like who wrote that down? Like the first guy didn't have a tablet with it written, and he had to have some intuition, and then over thousands of years we refine these methodologies. And
Do you think it's like a consciousness that, because Master Cho says a lot of like the majority of these recipes and stuff come through the dream realm, and if it's the dream, if he's accessing that in the dream realm, then he could be accessing what people call like the akashic record, or like this energetic field or resonance that's all around us, that it's just full of information, and we can tap into it if we can tune our vessels into it. So maybe through like some sort of practices and meditations and rituals, where in our dreams we're then getting these downloads of like these recipes, but that means that the recipes would just go back like to ancient times.
the in my own personal experience, like I do a lot of optimization in my dreams at night. Like when I'm writing a piece of software or something, I'll like run through these algorithms and I'll see it. And to bring that to a real concrete example for this podcast, while I was in Kiholo Bay camping past weekend, I was laying on the beach, and like I didn't sleep in a tent. I slept directly on the sand, just with a little blanket over me, pillow, but no real air mattress, like in direct contact. And I felt really grounded to the earth. And I was dreaming about this podcast, and I thought, one of the things is right now the premium content is actually harder to get to because of the digital rights management. The free episode is on all of our Stitcher and iTunes and Google Play and all these things that you should share with your friends,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone can access it now. But the premium only exists on our server, and it's a little bit harder to access because you actually download the MP3 file, and then you got to be technologically competent enough to put that into a music player and open it, and it's different on a phone and a computer. So the so in my dream, I had this way of like thinking about optimizing that problem. How can I make our premium episodes as accessible as the freemium half hour, our first hour?
How can you make them as accessible without creating a cost or like a price to it?
Well, it's hard to restrict the content, right? Today's world, I can put something on YouTube and it can get shared around the world. But if I only want to get it to our specific initiated membership paying folks, it's harder to restrict that content in our present age than it is to broadcast it.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, like, it,
So what solutions did you come up with?
well, I figured to implement the same thing I'm using for the free version, which is a serious, simple podcasting app, and to implement a whole mirror similar site that is just our premium content. But it's really just a small difference in like a file name of like half to full that determines what the end user gets.
Mm-hmm. I will say that there is a way for people to like utilize at least Apple Podcast and get like a code from like a code that's typed in, and then that lets you download the full episode as if you were like you'd have access to the full episode and not just the half episode on like these other platforms. I'm not exactly sure how that works in the back end of it, but
Well, the difference with that scenario is then we're working for Apple. We're not Apple employees. right now, we're sort of working for DigitalOcean in our hosting company,
Mm-hmm.
but but I set up the infrastructure. So anytime a subscriber gives us the $8 a month, that goes directly to you and I, and we then get to appropriate that out. We don't have to split a cost with Google
Mm-hmm.
or Apple or Stitcher or all these other companies that are competing for our dollar. We ourselves are actually on our own content platform, which is why it's more vitally important that you support our secret society here, get the second hour, and really, empower David and I to explore this, because I think we're onto some good things.
On to some good things, maybe some interesting interviews in the future. I really think that, yeah, the more people we interview that are really unique and already have an audience, then the more it's gonna like connect these networks.
Yeah, it's like the mycelia connecting, right? Like if I can figure out how to make my extension like what do they call it? An interface pattern, interface with you, and that audience over links, and then all of a sudden we mesh like mycelia. Now we can share these nutrients, which are these great ideas. Because there's many other podcasts out there and like people and information, but like having it flow between is what I'm glad we're in today's modern age with this.
You're glad we're in the modern age with this. With yeah, I think there's truly infinite possibilities. But with that comes more responsibility. That's what I'm learning. Is that it's like it's like the universe wants to give, and like so you can receive, and then so you can give, but it just comes with a lot more responsibility.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You gotta make choices come at you in life. Um, I've been contemplating the where I'm spending my time and energy. This week I'm just kicking off my course series. Just I just got it scheduled for November, January, December, or no, November, January, February coming up. So this winter, and trying to focus my energy into like what do I want with this responsibility. I feel like people are calling on me to spread natural farming as one of the core people moving this system forward. So yeah, spent my last couple of days just creating flyers to get people aware of what's happening.
So you got like 3 trainings coming up.
Yeah,
What are they, like a week or two long, or
I'm gonna do 7 days long because I feel like that's enough time to come really learn or go through natural
are
farming.
are you gonna do a field trip?
Yeah, and then also have field trip, and so you get to see the Big Island a little bit
Are you
too.
gonna go to national park?
Yeah, we went up to the national park with
Yeah,
you,
if you go,
Jacob.
let me know. I live pretty close to there now, so I need to go collect some microbes up there anyway. So
Cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. We went up there. Uh, I decided to go up to the national park as a field trip because it's like the primordial Earth emerging out, and how does, if you think of like our whole Earth was like that one day, how does do trees reestablish themselves? And the national park is like a field trip, just it's really happening there.
yeah, it's a great example. You can see roots like penetrating through the rock, and you can see a place that was like completely desolated with lava, and then places where it's regrown after decades, and then you can really see like pretty undisturbed forest that's just kind of is still having to balance between invasives and natives, but it's you get to see that too. So there's a lot of good things at the national park, and I got some good microbes there too.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's relatively undisturbed. Besides where the lava's disturbed it. Although now they're pulling out all that ginger, it's like it's an invasive species taking over. So as they go in to remove it, they're further disturbing the biology. So they could really benefit from the indigenous microbes being sprayed back.
Yeah, I mean, if they just fermented that ginger and then like sprayed IMOs and the fermented ginger juice with the roots and then with the flowers and then sprayed some microbes that were collected there, I think it would like really help.
Yeah, yeah, actually strengthen the ecosystem. Because right now our idea of national parks is like no humans, no action, and that's what's going to be best. But because pollutions are coming in from, the air, the water, everywhere, that we actually need to take like proactive
Mm.
action to make these like nature reserves actually like microbial sanctuaries that then the indigenous life is so strengthened that it's not degenerating, because otherwise your indigenous life, your stuff you're trying to just keep there, is degenerating. So that's kind of what you're suggesting, right? Utilize those resources growing there, ferment them, capture the microbes, increase the secret society's membership in that area, and then the national park will be even better, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're like pulling out the ginger to like ferment it instead of spraying like poisons and stuff to rely on it to kill it and have it grow back, then like something else is gonna grow back. Especially if you're feeding it that juice, like the ginger's not gonna grow back. Something else is. That doesn't. I don't know if it would be like considered an invasive species or not. What would come back? My guess is that it wouldn't be. I mean, what I'm starting to see where I'm applying like been spraying microbes on this spot in Noni Farms Road, and there's now like mamaki coming up out of the rock, and it's like, it's like there was no mamaki planted there or transplanted or anything like that, but it's like it's a native species starting to come back from by spraying native like biology. So
Yeah, so your weeds are now more beneficial, and there may be a whole mamaki in that seed bank, but the biology was so bacterial and or like not compatible with the mamaki, so it didn't even sprout. Now that you've been spraying, treating IMOs, biostimulants, foods, vinegars, OHN,
minerals, probiotics, yes, like
now the mamaki is just like, oh, now the biology is rich enough, now I'll sprout. It's kind of like you clean up a neighborhood, and then people that move in are gonna care more about it and lift it up, and the people that sprout and want to live. Yeah.
yeah. So that was a pretty good success from the following week of an observation of nature. Um, it'd be interesting to like get like do that on a different scale to start documenting and recording that like just by collecting and preserving and reapplying this native biology that it over time it starts to grow native biology.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if like extinct species would start to sprout if we really focused on restoring the microbiome in all kinds of environments. Like who knows what's the potential of the earth, right?
Yeah, like what could come up or what. And I started thinking today, like I was like, huh, I wonder what other stuff you could start to feed the IMO piles and like really like unique stuff. And the only what spurred this thought was I'm moving to my new place and there was all this like farming stuff that was left over. There's a bag of like green sand, and I'm like, oh man, I bet the IMOs would love to eat this in the IMO pile. And like, what other like fine things that are local that we could feed the biology that would benefit them. I don't think it's like the recipe is like limited to those things, but I think we can also like include more things. Maybe I mean at least test it and observe and see what happens. But I don't know. Maybe there's a balance to it, but if you have microbes that are able to eat sand and get all the minerals out of that.
They are. Yeah, no, silica is one of the main thing. Like I think the rain eats the silica, which is sand.
Hmm.
But I don't know what else it would take. I mean, obviously, maybe it would take some carbon because you see just heaps of sand around, and they're not really breaking down. But
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you put a few sticks in there, some carbon in there, oh man, sand gets rich really fast. Like so downtown Hilo is sand underneath. The city is basically built on sand. And when we did Let's Grow Hilo down there, we were planting the streets of Hilo. Um, it was so
Do
rich.
you think one day you'll have like you'll be able to walk from your house to the ocean?
I walked from here to the ocean.
I
It's
meant
only a mile.
I meant like walk out your like front gate or something, your front door.
Oh, like you think the land's gonna sink or something?
I don't know. It's just that like you mentioned that I didn't know that Hilo was built on sand. I did know that like I don't know if Kona was similar to that or like Waikiki on Oahu is like built on a lot of sands and they have to add it. Like they keep adding it or
Keeps washing away.
yeah.
Huh.
So I don't know. And then rising tides, climate change if you believe in any of that stuff and I don't know. It's just like if you're I just heard that if you're below like I don't know 400, 500 feet, in the next 100 years in Hawaii, you never know what could happen, especially in like Puna where the rift is.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that
if
thing could just fall.
if the Holopay plate falls in that Holopay rift, then it's gonna cause a mega tsunami around the world. That's what they predict anyway.
Would it affect Hawaii or would it be like more like the tsunami would like ripple out?
Well, I think you get some backswell too once it pushes out.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Molokai fell in, like that was like a gnarly event for the Hawaiian for the global thing.
Wait,
Like
when
it caused.
Molokai fell in?
I think right. That's why there's steep cliffs on the backside of Molokai. It's like a
Mm.
huge Molokai and Maui and Lanai. Like some plate over or some part of it just like broke off and just they say it caused a huge tsunami. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. It's a lot of how land to displace, and it wasn't just what you see above. It was like a underground mountain.
Mm.
Because Mauna Loa is one of the tallest mountains from the bottom of the ocean. So that thing's huge, and imagine you see at the top a landslide, how much displacement was below, because it's the largest mountain on Earth. It's just like so
Mm-hmm.
much displacement causes big tsunami. But who knows about like it's pretty. I mean,
Yeah,
if that happens, it's like it had whoops, like
whoops. I mean, that makes me think about like the book Spirit Walker by Hank Wesselman and kind of those foreshadowing things. It's interesting is my I think you met Joey Goforth. He used to live at the Hive with us, played the banjo. Beard. He used to do the beat programming podcast too, but
oh yeah, yeah, I do
he's in
remember that.
Washington right now, and he met this girl that is like best friends with like Hank Wesselman. And I guess Hank Wesselman's like looking for someone to like build him a garden or something. So he's within the circle.
Wow, wow, yeah, yeah. Do you know Chris and Lisa?
Chris and Lisa, who no, I don't think so.
They live up in Canada. They came out to Hawaii to take natural farming training from myself, and then also from a few other instructors on the island.
From you?
Hmm. He
Maybe.
took the same training as you at Hawaiian Sanctuary.
Maybe I know him. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and so he came out, and then Lisa apparently went to go study with Hank Wesselman while she was here, because he teaches like other mystic stuff. Like I'm reading Medicine Maker right now, I think, or Vision Seeker. I'm not sure. The second one in the trilogy, and it kind of follows the same story and but yeah, Hank kind of communicates with Nainoa and
But he lives in Kau, I think, right? Somewhere down
he
there
lives near Logan, I think.
near Logan. Okay.
Yeah, and but I was thinking I contacted Lisa the other day because I've been reading the book
Wait, Lisa
from Canada,
from Canada. Okay.
and I asked her, I was like, hey, do we should get this information like natural farming to Hank so he can download it down to Nainoa. Because if Nainoa knows about natural farming, which I haven't finished the books yet, maybe he does already. Maybe that's like it's like an unfolding in my life kind of book, and he'll know about natural farming, and it'll be this like weird circle whip around. Who knows? But if we can teach natural farming to the future, then I think they'd have a better understanding of what the collapse was.
We just need to preserve the microbes in the now, and
But
then
I
make a
feel
map of them. I mean, maybe that's
well,
like
maybe we can make an IMO library, and then Nainoa will know where it is, and he'll come back to Hawaii in the third book, and he'll find the IMO library, and then he'll restore the entire Earth, because we were part of the story.
but it wouldn't. They go to California in the book, right? They go to California, or they.
Yeah, but there's 3 books. I'm only on book 2. There could be a whole journey coming back to Hawaii to find David's IMO library at the pyramids in Kau.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just yeah. I think there's like symbology within it too, and yeah, like I want to go. It's like I know that those pyramids are a portal, and it's time to go there.
Maybe they're a portal, though, because your interaction here now, that you stashed the IMO library there, caused a ripple in the space time and made it a portal.
Well, that would be a good spot to store them. I don't know. It's like you want
You want refrigeration.
you want refrigeration. I mean, the mountain is like the best ideal up on top, but then it doesn't always stay below 32.
Those caves are actually really deep in Pahala. You can walk into the back of those and kind of like a wine cave.
Oh, well, caves like for the most part, I think they like have a pretty like standard like humidity and stuff, but pol- you're talking about caves somewhere in like Polhala?
To make a natural IMO library, you just walk into a cave
But
that's dug into a
you
mountain.
want like you'd want them all over, you know? And like depending on the slope of the mountain, they'd be like kind of all kind of based off there cuz you wouldn't want to be storing like would you want to store sea level microbes from like, Hilo?
Once they're in the CHO, the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen,
Uh-huh.
the sugar, I make it out of sugar cane. Once they're in that and they're bound equal volumes so that it's super saturated, they're frozen, man. So you could take those and you could go into outer space and come back and they'd still be viable.
Wow.
That's how strong the bond of carbon is. It's like a diamond, right? But what
So
it
you think
is a liquid diamond.
sugar is valuable?
Sugars are liquid diamonds.
Or liquid diamonds. Today, yeah. Gotta grow more sugar cane. No. Do you think it's feasible to grow sugarcane in Hawaii and like without a mill? Like, do you think it's feasible to think that there could be a cooperative that's formed like in the next few years or something like that to like process it and actually turn it into sugar?
Well, that's
Like,
definitely a good topic for our second hour, which, as we're getting into about the first half hour here, just
okay.
reminding viewers that. But we may as well go into that now, and we'll just give you a little hint of what we do in the second hour. But forming this cooperative, working with other like-minded people that understand the soil biology, planting enough sugar now to necessitate a mill is a very approachable and viable way to get Pono KNF, like pure KNF, from the sugar all the way through. Because,
the sugar and the alcohol.
yeah, well, the sugar cane you can sell for sugarcane juice. So you already got a market. Then once you got enough that, you can start to maybe get into the sugar and or make alcohol.
Do you think there's a market for the juice?
Yeah, there definitely is. There's so many health food markets, and they all, think of that. They're all using like pesticide laden apple juice and stuff, whereas you're gonna have the most kind sugar cane.
I think vinegar is a huge market. Like, why? Where can you get homemade vinegar other than
Right
your
here
friend's
under my
natural?
porch.
Yeah, or your friend's natural farm or something, or like a natural farmer that you know. Other than that, where can you go at a health food store and get local vinegar?
You just gotta buy one of the drinks, crack it open, put it outside, wait a few days. You get vinegar. Like vinegar is everywhere. It's so crazy that in modern society it's hard to find living vinegar because vinegar is like it's happening right now in your brain.
When I was going through some of the farm stuff, like I was happy to see that there like wasn't any like pesticides or anything sprayed, which is nice. But one thing that what struck, like, kind of was kind of curious was it was like Hawaiian non-food grade salt, and I was like, I looked at it, I was like, if it's not food grade, why would you put it on the earth? Like, what does that even mean? How do you make non-food grade salt?
Did they mix some other chemical? It came out maybe a chemical refining process.
It looked a little like weird on the outside of it. It definitely was salt, but it had like more of like a, I don't know the word to describe it, like a more clustered together and a little shinier on the outside of it. But it was, I looked at it and it was just a little in a little bag, and I was just like, non-food grade salt. I didn't even think that existed.
Well, I'd like to know more about salt because it was like one of the alchemical things was like gold and salt and mercury. These like states or phase changes or like organizations. And to me, it's more than sodium chloride. When you get sea salt, it's like you're getting all these other trace minerals with it. And so you're not like, so with this non-food grade salt, maybe it's just sodium chloride.
Hmm.
And it comes from like a chemical byproduct or like
Hmm.
they baked it or like
Yeah,
they
it was just like yeah. I mean, it was like a waste product of another process, but they're considering it not food grade, but like a waste product in the food of the fermented plant juice is a vinegar that which is food grade. So it's just like just interesting to observe.
well, that salt you wouldn't want to use because then the minerals like is just putting sodium.
Yeah, I'm not gonna use it. I'm just gonna.
No, that's a bummer. Those people are doing it because now that's a concentrated waste. It's unbalanced.
Luckily, it was just like a little bag of it, and not a big deal. They probably used it to like kill weeds or something. They probably mixed like vinegar and that salt and
Oh,
water,
huh.
and then that thing would definitely probably kill some grass if you wanted it to. Like,
Well, yeah, the sodium goes away, and then the chloride, like chlorine, just cleaves molecules apart. So chlorine's super gnarly. So yeah, use it to kill damn weeds.
them weeds, yeah, yeah.
But to go back to the viability of the sugarcane, it really could support this island and can and will again.
It could, yeah. I was just thinking about, yeah, because I mulched 12 sugar canes today. It was a super unproductive day, but it was it was like one of the things that I did on the land was just like mulch some sugar canes that, you know, there's like 12 of them got mulched. There's probably like another 30 that need to get mulched, but
What do you mean by mulched?
like I mulched them.
Like you just took them and chopped them up?
Oh, no. Well, I did thin them out. Like there's many clusters of them, and I'm thinning them out to get one, like
Mm-hmm.
predominant one that will like grow really thick,
Mm-hmm.
and then I applied mulch from the Hilo resource waste facility, which is like not a sustainable thing, and it's like a cheat code. It for sure is. You start adding microbes to that mulch, and you stack it long enough, it's gonna break down and turn into soil, and you'll be growing some things in that for sure. Um, Definitely would like to figure out how to do that same thing. Like there's enough jungle and enough forest. It's like I guess hooing up with people to get like a you just need like a solid wood chipper or something to like break some of the stuff down, like some of the guava and the
Yeah.
bigger branches and leaves and things. But I don't know.
I'm actually a fan of stick tech, where instead of trying to break these things down and chip them, just stacking sticks, piles of sticks, and I'm also a big fan of pile tech. So instead of trying to spread it out and like get chips and put it around and make it aesthetically nice, I just make huge heaps of like as much wood and all kinds of like wood chips, whatever I can get. But if I spread it out, the grass just eats it and it gets bacterial in a matter of minutes. Versus if I leave a big
Yeah.
mound, it turns into this fungal hive that the
Mm-hmm.
secret society is like their mega lodge. And they then they send miles of mycelia through from that mega thing to the roots.
Yeah. With this experiment, I'm just gonna do like I did a thick layer of mulch around them, and then I'm gonna plant in like canaf as like a cover crop like in between it.
Oh yeah.
And then what I've observed is once you like with the canaf and the sugar cane, they'll grow pretty well together, and then you'll start to see like different types of like hono grasses and other things that weren't growing there before start to like kind of dominate. But if the canaf gets established, it's like it's well worth just like it kind of does like transform that little environment into a place where the grasses and stuff won't grow back, and then um, but each spot's different. I mean, totally different.
My canaf regrowth in the back of the house is really nice. My first crop only came up about 2-3 feet tall. This crop in the back's about 6-7 feet tall. And so I think this hasn't flowered yet, but I think it's gonna flower and just fill up with seeds, which is
But
what
you,
I.
you you said that one already flowered once before, right?
Yeah. Do you think it'll flower again?
It should. It probably will. Yeah. The most recent crop that I'm growing right now in OP cow, they're about 6 feet tall. They haven't flowered yet, but they didn't much bigger than like I had similar things in when I first started growing it, like 2 to 4 feet maybe. Much skinnier. They'd flower, then die back and stuff. But these ones, you know, are pretty. We'll see. And I don't know if it's true. Shane said the ones at the hive that I planted are like about 16 feet tall now, like 15 to 16 feet. I'm not sure. I haven't seen them, so.
Wow, that sounds like that. That's really rich. All the work you did over there is really paying off.
Yeah, I mean, I learned that you reap what you sow, and you might not reap what you sow like directly where at like in a particular location, but you'll definitely receive the abundance from the universe in different ways. So
And what's the biggest way you've reaped indirectly here?
what's the biggest way that I've reaped indirectly?
Yeah,
What do you
because you
mean?
sowed a bunch there, and you're saying that you'll still be able to reap something even if it's not the one that you sowed. So I'm just
Um,
wondering when you.
I guess I'm still like exploring that process, but
So what you're saying is more of an ideology, like a
well,
wish, or is it a reality?
when I planted that garden at the hive, I put a lot of energy and time into it, and I, like, from that could grow like thousands and thousands of plants. There's a lot of energy going into that, but I just that was on an acre, and I just moved to like a new space, and it's 6 acres, 6 times that, and there's many fruit trees there, and there's a bunch of sugarcane already planted. There's bananas that are already planted. There's pineapples that are already planted. So it was like I'm in an opportunity where I feel like my cup is really full. And yeah, I wasn't the person who planted all those things, but they're in my like vortex. They're in my energy. They're in my reality now. So I'm taking care of them. So it's like I didn't reap all those things, but the universe still provided me a situation where I can still have like a connection and scale like at a bigger rate than I ever thought before. Because like the biggest limitation is our own beliefs and our goals. It's like I do this so much where I set my goal too low, or I don't like yeah I don't imagine that I can achieve. It's like almost like a fear state, and it's like we literally can achieve anything, so we might as well set our goals way higher and our expectations way higher, and then put 5 to 10 times the amount of energy or effort it's going to take to get to those places. So
And you're truly embodying that right now,
maybe,
or is it you're aspiring to it? Like that's more like you're.
well, it's in my consciousness, it's in my awareness, it's like a daily practice, I guess. But um, yeah, I'm definitely trying to 10x my life in a lot of different ways. My business life, my personal relationships, my family life, my friendships, my community. Like I'm trying to scale. Like over the next 6 months, I want people to like be like, "What's gotten into David? I
Oh
haven't
yeah.
seen him in a while. What is he doing?" And then it's just like action, just like action, 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 action. That's the only way it's gonna make things move. It's just like movement. Someone's gotta make it move.
Yeah, yeah. So we're right now Chinese astrologically we're in the year of the Earth Pig.
Yeah, the Earth Pig. Yeah, we were the wood dog or the metal dog
Earth
or
Dog,
Earth dog.
Earth Pig, and then it'll be a different type of rat coming up. I'm not exactly sure.
What does that mean? What? So what? Like, yeah. What are you perceiving
Well, I'm
from?
just saying what's happening right now is this is like a culmination of a cycle, a 12-year cycle ending, because it number one is the rat. So we're coming up into this, and then so right now, and the new year is what starts February ish. I don't know the exact date for this year, but it's like the new moon in February is the Chinese New Year, and so this year is kind of the Earth Pig is kind of like a carefree, like likes to party, good year to travel kind of stuff. Like, don't get too serious, don't work too hard. But coming into this new cycle, and the rat is always busy. Like the rat is like super industrious, always like busying itself. It's never
Busy. I think rats are like kind of intelligent.
well versus the pig, which the pig is much more like gonna
Nose
laze
to the.
around and like
Oh.
like wallow and just relax. When it's hot, it's just gonna go inside. Versus the rat's up all night freaking gathering stuff and like doing its thing. And so when you're talking about this transition where you're going and you're wanting to be more on the what got into David, like who is this new guy, like you know that as if you can time this right with these natural cycles and not try too hard, but
Mm-hmm.
really like time it, and really good timing as well as effort, right timing, right effort, right place, right thing, that that those can if you time it with this new year as it goes into the rat, and as we get more rat energy building, man, you can really do it right. And that's what in my life right now I'm trying to time it right too. I got a few more opportunities to travel this year, and I've traveled a lot. I went to the Philippines, I went all over America. I just got invited to like go a few other places, and I'm trying to embrace the like my Chinese astrological thing for the pig was like relax, go travel, don't work too hard, you know. And so I'm not trying to like I think as
You're
this
trying to
rat.
enjoy the time while it's ripe to go travel and go see, and then, when it's time to put your nose to the ground and go to work, then But you're also like being aware of the cosmics, and astrological cycles that are around us that play effect energetically in our lives, maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to describe it. And the longer I've been observing the Chinese method of like the years and the times and the months and like how these things happen, the more I have seen it to be true. Like if I as I learn about someone and I know, what kind of what their astrological sign is, you then know, like you at least have a prototype of that person. It's not You're not gonna know them 100%.
Yeah, yeah, like an archetype almost of of the being, maybe. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm a water rooster. I know you're a dragon. I know roosters and dragons get along. I know roosters and snakes get along. Roosters and oxes get along. Um, I guess that's kind of.
Well, yeah, I'm an ox, so I guess we get along there. Like, cause the ox is stubborn, and the ox can carry a lot, and sometimes gets me into.
Was the rooster pretty light?
Yeah, it's light and loud and like, like dances. It's flashy. people like it right away. But then, when it comes to the heavy lifting, it's like,
Like, ox, where you at?
but then you gotta watch out because I also got the dragon, which comes in and it's like, oh, tell that fucking rooster what's up.
Well, no, it's like the rooster's like, oh, dragon, let's go for it. It's like I vision like a flying dragon and
Flying buffalo.
flying.
Oh, like Appa.
Maybe. I was thinking like a flying dragon. Then a rooster is just like on board, but
So what hour were you born
2 a.m.
in the morning? So I think you're the
Well,
second.
2:31 a.m. is the time that I was born.
I think that makes you an ox. That'd be interesting if you're a rooster ox.
I think that's what I am. I really do. Like when I've looked at the books where they have like multiple, where you get like two of them.
Because the rat's from 11 to 1, and then the second sign is the ox. So yeah, oh, maybe that's interesting.
Yeah, very very earthly, but yeah, I love to entertain the archetypes, and man, I love even more than Chinese astrology. I love like numerology. I think that it can like tell like a blueprint of someone's life, especially when you start incorporating like the tarot into it, incorporating these other facets, like astrology, tarot, and numerology all together to kind of build like a yeah, like a solid understanding and a building block of like being able to navigate like energetic patterns. Especially with numerology, you can get to the like the month cycle and you can see like vibrationally where you're at and what is going to be occurring, and then you can relate that vibration to either the tarot or to astrology, different signs and different patterns of the planets and stuff, and they all are saying like similar things.
So what varieties of tarot?
um Particularly like the way to ride deck, but I mean, I think if you have a solid understanding of any, tarot, they're all kind of interchangeable. I mean, they all have numbers, they have different signs or symbols within them, the coins, the swords, the wands, the pentacles, those are also like in different decks there, some of those are changed around, but it's like a and then those are associated with the elements: earth, fire, air, or air, earth, water, fire, ether, maybe. I don't know where ether would come in there, but um,
Spirit,
yeah.
microbes. Yeah, man.
Maybe we could do that one time. Is maybe for one episode could I could do your thing for you.
Tell me about my numbers.
Yeah. Like I mean, I could put in a little energy beforehand, so like I could have it all written out and like have all the calculations for the different numbers and expressions, and then just like ask, like read from, call upon some texts to read upon, and then ask if hey, does this resonate with you? What does this sound like? Is this something that and like 9 times out of 10, um, it's like spot on, like uncannily like spot on.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, there's this one occurrence when I was I don't know, like 19 or 20, when I first started learning about numerology, and I got this book and I was on an airplane. It was the first time that I read it, and it's called The Divine Triangle by Faith Javin, and it's like the one of the only numerology books that I could find that relates the the tarot, numerology, and astrology signs all together, and then like maps it and even like incorporates the Bible and like all these different symbologies. And then I was sitting next to strangers on the airplane, and someone was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm reading about this. Like, what's your birthday? Let me read from this. Like, let me entertain this idea." And it got to the point where like people were like coming up from the airplane from like way back and like asking me to come and read for them these things, because they would like they got so excited when I like shared these things that like resonated with them just based on like their name and what letters are appearing and what's like because each letter is associated with a number, and then you can kind of like tap into like, one example is like if you have a lot of like a similar like three or more letters in your name that are repeating, like then that quality might be like over amplified within your vibration. And then it also talks about like name changing and naming things and like the power of that. And I think it was like the book The Children of the Night Rainbow, that talked about how like in ancient Hawaiian culture, like pre-Tahitian, pre-Ali'i, um, that they would like name their children like these super long names, like these chants, but they wouldn't actually tell them their real names until they were like, and some wouldn't even get to know their real names until they were like, I don't know, they met some sort of expectation from the elders or the people in the community, and they would like name their children like trash or something like something like, I don't know. So they so that so that and then one day they would like, their real name would be revealed and they would like live into that. I'm not sure if there's like a lot of truth or what you know about that at all, or
I like. Well, I mean, I know a lot about vocabulary, and then I know a little bit about numerology from that. I know a few systems and ways. But the episode I was listening to Logan, he's talking about how it's all like everything that's known out there is pretty like level one though.
everything that's known is like level one, like everything that.
Yeah, to know about like, well, I mean the numerology when you read it, like I do I Ching, which is very much similar. It's based on like a 9 or like a, you know, 1 0, all the whole system built up, but the within those 64 hexagrams, it always comes out to be like almost perfect. And like it's just uncanny how effective that advice is if I can follow it and if I can understand it, and it resonates on a deep level, just like I think what you're saying, where these people like you can almost be a fortune teller, but really what it is we're in some sort of simulation thing that I had this one stream one night where I was thinking about the I learned a bunch of microwave radiation is absorbed and heat and IR goes into the ocean. And what if just by the ocean going back and forth, it's creating enough electrical charge that then our DNA can receive? And this universal battery on Earth is actually like our ocean just vibrating as it takes in the sun's energy, and then it's always just in motion, it's always releasing these microwaves, which then we're transceivers, and all life is transceivers of these, you know, this radio waves being propagated via the ocean, just you know, doing its thing. And that's why, like, you know, water is life, and it's like as it moves it releases this energy which powers you.
So like the Earth is like a battery, and like we're the solar panels that are moving around and receiving the charge from it, and being, and like the ocean is like the generator that's like allowing the current to like flow and get charged, or not charged, require like manifest power to charge the Earth, which would charge us, which would kind of be like a system.
Yeah, well, it's like a frequency generator storage, like hard drive type of like long term storage. Like energy from the sun comes in, heats it, and then as it's moving, it's just like it's generating this surface charge. And that's like flying at us and powering all life. And DNA is what resonates with those frequencies coming off the ocean, which to us sounds like white noise, but it's actually a whole like programmed song of like rhythmic theta waves. You know, when the ocean's nice and calm and these nice sets are coming, they're really nice formed waves. And that energy comes into us as like a consciousness of like the sun receiving that and storing it and then giving the energy back. And then, you know, it's like a whole and that's why the ocean is your subconscious, because it's your real mind. It's this receiver of energy that's giving it to you, and it's like your thoughts are just coming
Oh wow!
as
So then, when you're able to like tap into that awareness or that observational state, then you're able to be like, whoa, I'm everything. I'm the whole earth. I'm all the forests. I'm you know, and then you can see the ocean as your thoughts or your things, and you can separate yourself from the shore of the ocean, and just allow those thoughts to travel and carry and be in that ocean of calmness, and also in, you know, a lot of powerful waves at different points, and one spot of the ocean could be really calm and peaceful, and one could be like really windy and turbulent, and it's all just like different states all happening at the same time. all incorporating like one. So it's pretty potent. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that energy is received by DNA, and the more microbes you have around you, the more life forms you have that are able to receive this like subconscious oceanic or even the air's higher energy as it's more subtle that comes through. And as those molecules are shifted, they let off radio waves, which powers this life. And so the more resonance you have within you and without, like, always promulgate, more indigenous microbes, right?
Yeah, more indigenous microbes. Yeah, how can we spread more? But I guess what I've kind of been contemplating and pondering is like this state of like self-preservation, where like it's super true. It's a truth that like you need to be able to take care of yourself and provide for your own needs in order to help feel like you're in a place to give to others and help others out, right? Like if you're not able to feed yourself, then how can you feed others? Or if you're, so being able to navigate between like self-preservation, which is like keeping the body alive and keeping it's like very survival almost of like just preserving the self and only working on that, but then finding the balance of like helping others at the same time. And like where do we draw those lines, right? Like where, and then where it's like you can have someone feed you, but it's like there's like that saying like catch a fish for someone and feed his family for a day, or teach that person how to fish, and then they're able to feed their family for life. It's like you could,
When they
so
overfish the ocean.
in harmony and balance, right? Like being able to like maybe acquainted to planting, where it's like you know you have like a lot of bananas, right? You could be giving those to people and feeding them, but is that going to like what how could you put that in a position where then they're able to feed themselves or their future communities, or bananas for the rest of their lives, right? Or for generationally. And then that it's like overfeeding, but like as long as you're planting enough back or putting enough back into the earth for the future, then it can be sustainable. And I think that those practices are definitely possible with like fishing and stuff. I'm not an expert in fishing or anything like that, you know but I'm sure there's ways for it to be sustainable, just like there's ways for agriculture to be sustainable and regenerative and more abundant and more nutritious. It's like this. I'm sure there's a scenario or a possibility where that's possible for the ocean as well.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe this podcast will connect those mycelium networks that we're still discovering through our own journeys, right? Like maybe someone listening to this and they're like, oh my God, I'm a fisherman and we're doing this natural, this thing, and it relates, and then getting to be able to have that conversation and see how the natural farming correlates and connects, and then it's like building these networks and bridges on like much larger scales. And then you mentioned before like at one point you were looking out into the ocean and you see all this thing, but if you know that that uncle or that brother or that sister or that auntie is you know someone that you personally know has that kuleana that is like inspiring change, then you know that it's possible, like, and you don't necessarily have to worry about it.
yeah. Well, so I think the Kuleana, like what came to mind while you're speaking of that, and is that the ancient Hawaiians, as I understand it, would think about feeding the ocean. So today, and also think about feeding the soil. Where today we kind of go and think about, oh, we're gonna go fishing, but how much time do we spend feeding the ocean? So Hawaiians would go out to the ocean with the coconut fronds and then create anchor buoys and like float them with gourds and tie it down with rocks so that a buoy would form where all the keiki fish could come and feed in that safe zone where all limu is growing because the buoy is out there. And each time they're paddling out or each time they're going on a voyage, they're also bringing these like coconut fronds, which they can tie together and make huge artificial reefs. And like, sure, when the waves come, it gets all smashed, but all those fish go, and it's